Welcome to a new episode of Unchained with Pierre Wilson, and I of course am your host Pierre Wilson. We have so much to get into today. I have still been riding the high of the election. I think a lot of conservatives are riding the high right now. I mean, we just got the House of Representatives. We completed the trifecta right now. That's the presidency, right? The executive branch, the legislative branch. We have the judicial branch as well. Obviously, still the Supreme Court, right? But Senate and the House and the presidency to add to that Supreme Court majority we have. I mean, this is beautiful right now, right? Like I'm head over heels in love with America right now. I am so proud of our people for what we just delivered. President Trump, and not just President Trump, the people of this country, because even if you didn't vote for President Trump, believe it or not, he's going to help you too. You'll be thankful that majority of us did, because we just saved America. And I couldn't think of another guest better to talk about it with and talk about all the wins that the GOP is celebrating right now than one of my good friends. I mean, I love this guy to death, on and off the camera, and he is I would say, one of the leaders in the conservative movement over the last couple of years, one of the ones who have been shedding light on all the hypocrisy of the left, calling it out as you see it. Welcome none other than the incredible Stephen Davis to Unchained. Welcome, Stephen.
How you doing, brother? How's everything?
Man, I am blessed. I'm riding this high. I'm riding this high. I don't want to come down right now.
No.
I'm seeing these cabinet picks right now, and every day I'm just like, let's go. I'm feeling
It's a
really
beautiful
good,
thing.
man.
Gotta
Right?
love it. Gotta love it, man. And just seeing this type of the amount of progress we have made, and I'm not talking about the leftist progress. I'm talking about progress for the right direction of our country. It is a beautiful thing to witness and a beautiful thing to see, and I am all here for it. Let's go.
Yes, and we've waited for this. I mean, for people who don't understand the conservative side, and particularly yourself, and I'll put myself in there. We put in a lot of work. This wasn't something we just
Hmm.
sat around and prayed for. Now we prayed. We're some prayer warriors now, but we put in a lot of work as well to get to this point. I mean, years and years of these tough conversations, documentaries, speaking on campuses, high
Hmm.
schools, you name it. There's a lot of work that went into this, and I think the left is still trying to scratch their head and figure out what the heck happened. But Stephen, that's where I actually want to start with you. What the heck happened, Stephen? What happened? What did you see?
Oh man, what I've noticed is that the right has mobilized in such a fantastic way this time, this go around. And I'm not saying that we didn't last time. I'm not saying that at all. But the amount of effort that was put in, when it comes to Turning Point USA, when it comes to Brexit, when it comes to other people and other organizations, whether it comes to individuals like Scott Pressler going out there, boots on the daggone ground in Pennsylvania, right? Going out to Amish country, trying to get people to understand the dire need for their vote, right? How it's so important to vote, to let your voice be heard when it comes to the things that are going on with this country, when it comes to the lack of orders that we've seen, when it comes to the high gas prices, when it comes to rising inflation, when it comes to rising crime. All these different factors came into play, and America stood up as one unanimous voice and said, you know what? No more.
No more, no more. And the interesting thing is, what's funny actually is that when I saw the Amish going out there with the Trump flags, I knew it was over. I was like, it's over, it's over. Just throw in the towel. If you're the Democrats, throw in the towel. It's over. We have mobilized the Amish to come vote. It is over now. But no, you hit on some really good things. You talk about the crime rates, right? Rising inflation.
Mm,
There's so much
yes.
going on right now around the country, and yet Kamala and the Democrats wanted to focus on identity politics. They wanted to
Uh,
focus on everything else besides the true issues. And I think that's really where they went wrong too as well. And I don't understand the left when they sit here and they put everything on, oh, you should vote for her because she's a nice person. I'm like, I'm not voting for someone to be my best friend. I'm not voting for someone to have dinner with every night. I'm voting for a president. I'm voting for
mm,
someone who is going to lead this country the right way. What is it with the left and their obsession with identity politics? You speak about this a lot.
yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I can't stand the less obsession with it, but it's because of their Marxist view on everything. When it comes to Marxism and when it comes to wokeness in general, when you define what woke is, it is an adherence to identity politics over the truth in efforts to destroy the dominant culture. And that's what they're all about. These people are indeed inherently Marxist. They adhere to a Marxist ideology. So this is what they promote. They promote the idea of identity politics. They promote the idea of not being an American, not being a human being, but at the end of the day, you are a black or a black man, a black woman, black quote unquote transgender, black this, black that, black small person, little person with a peg leg, you know what I'm saying? And you got to, it's all this intersectional gibberish that they try to put forth to try to separate people into these different camps so that they can go ahead and seclude people, right? And, as we know, divide and conquer. The more people are divided, the easier they are to conquer. So when it comes to these people, this is what they want the United States of America to be ensconced in. So it's incumbent on us to say, no, 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 no. We are not islands unto ourselves. We are the American people. We are human beings at the end of the day, and we got to stand together as such. United we stand, but divided we fall. The Democrat, well, I won't say all the Democrats. I mean, there's a lot of Democrats that voted Republican, right? So my hats off to them for understanding what the situation is. But when it comes to the left, I'll say the left, and when it comes to the Marxists and the radical left, this is what they're all about. They're all about identity politics, and they want to adhere to that over the truth, and that's what you see in this day and age.
Yeah, and you touched on one of them. They want to really keep people boxed in, and
Mm.
I had someone who I spoke with. This was maybe, I would say, maybe a year and a half ago now, but she asked me. It was a lady. She asked me. She said, "Well, isn't Brexit now? You guys know I have to plug Brexit at least once every episode."
Let
But she's
go.
like, "Isn't she's like, isn't Brexit kind of identity politics?" And what you just said, Stephen, was a great way to how I explain Brexit. We
Mm.
recognize, I know what we try to do in the work that we do with Blakes is we recognize that a lot of people think that way because the left has done nothing but ingrain that in their head, like you're black first, black this, black that, right? Everything is about the color of your skin or how you identify yourself that way. And we recognize that. So we understand the importance of meeting people where they are. But,
Yes.
2, 3 months into Brexit being around us, you're going to start hearing people talk about the fact that they're Christian, they're American
Hmm.
first. They're going to be brought into the larger scale, right, movements, not just the black conservative part of the movement. And that is the goal, right? We understand meeting people where they are, but bringing them uh, into the bigger space, right? Not just identifying themselves as just a black person, right? Because that's just one part of who we are. I know I'm very well black, but when I stand up and introduce myself, that's not gonna be the first thing I tell you if I even mention it at all.
Right.
I'm like, that doesn't even matter. Why is that relevant to me identifying who I am and telling more about myself? But with that said, Stephen, one of the things that I noticed recently as well is that the Democrats are having a lot of infighting. And then I want to actually get into some of that vote total to you because I do think more Black Americans are
Mm.
actually waking up, right? And they're realizing they don't have to tie themselves to their identity politics. But before we get into that, I do see the left is kind of tearing themselves apart a bit. You and I have had a lot of conversations, and we've talked about the fact that in many ways the red flags were there where they would eat themselves alive because it was
Mm.
all these that when you start separating people into these groups and stuff, at some point these groups are going to clash, and you're seeing that now. So I know you're not a Democrat strategist, but where do they go from here at this point, Steve? And what is next for the Democrats? Because right now they have no clear leader for 2028.
No, they don't. No, they don't. It's actually kind of funny to see that. There's no one that you could really prop up and put on a pedestal. I saw a poll someone put, I think it was by Occupy Democrats or one of those, different groups, and it was like, would you support Pete Buttigieg as the 2028, presidential nominee? And I'm just like, that's the best that you got, Pete freaking Buttigieg. That's it.
Hey,
Mr. Secretary of Transportation that couldn't do anything for when it comes to transportation, when it didn't do it. When he took a hiatus, as a matter of fact, when they had that kid, when him and his husband had that kid, and he had to take a paternity leave for the sake and leave the federal government alone, right, to go on paternity leave to go take care of a kid. I mean, I'm all for taking care of your children, but there's a lot of going on with that situation that I'm not gonna really dive into. But is that the best that you have, Pete Buttigieg? I mean, come on now. I mean, you have people like Kamala Harris, you have people like Amy Klobuchar. I mean, are these people you're gonna really place your banner behind? I mean, these individuals, I don't know what they can do at this point to really resonate with the American people. They have no strong leadership. They really don't. They have
yeah,
a bunch of people who know how to adhere to the leftist mantras, who know how to parrot the leftist narratives, and that's pretty much it. That's all they got. So they have no one that's going to be a leader. They have no one that's going to stand up. They have no one to really put their flag down on. And I think that that's going to resound to our benefit come 2028 and the years after that.
yeah. I think they're going to struggle. I really do. I agree with you. I think they're in a weird place right now because when you think about it, where do you go? I mean, they have a very weak bench. I mean, some people were saying, "Oh,
Mm,
Gavin Newsom is the person that could step up," but the way that they just rejected Kamala Harris, I don't know that Gavin Newsom is the person to step up. I mean, it's pretty clear the
mm,
country doesn't like California leftist policies, so you're gonna.
mhm.
I mean, it's pretty clear. I mean, So I don't know if Gavin Newsom is your person like people thought that he would be. You can't run Tim Walz. I mean, what's it?
Oh
You can't
goodness.
run that man. You can't run that man at all. I mean, he would lose worse than she did, probably, right? I mean, there is who do you go? And if Mayor Pete is the best you got, then maybe this is me being biased to the conservative side, but feel free to run him because we excited to go
By
against
all
him.
means.
By all means, if that's your choice, go for it. But what do you say to people who say that Stephen, the country is just sexist and she lost because she's a woman? She was a great candidate. What do you say to those people?
Well, first and foremost, we again, that's them adhering to identity politics, and they're going to adhere to that over the truth. But what's the truth, right? What's the truth when it comes to Kamala Harris? She's a weak candidate. She really is. She's word salad central. That's what she's all about. She doesn't have a coherent thought. She doesn't have any coherent words to be able to speak to the American people and speak to the heart of it, of what's going on. Like she ignored all of the obvious signs of issues that's going on within the United States of America, like we talked about before: rising inflation, rising crime, the southern border. Three huge things that you cannot. You can stick your head in the sand all you want, but at the end of the day, the American people are feeling the effects
Hmm.
of such things. So if you don't want to speak to that, or if you want to speak to it in a roundabout way in which you need to understand that you have been in office and you are still currently in office and you have done nothing about it. So why should we trust you? That should have been your message. Oh, this is why you should trust me. And you should have she should have separated herself from Joe Biden, right? She should have did that from the jump. She didn't do that. They know that she's radical. The American people know she's radical when it comes to transgenderism and all this other type of stuff that the American people are not for. Okay, the plurality of America is not for the a lot of these the promotion of these LGBTQ issues, especially when it comes to the Black community. And then on top of that, the flip flopping of race when it comes to her being Asian, to being black, to being Asian, and to being black when it's important, and when it's beneficial, and to being Asian when it's beneficial. I mean, that sort of stuff, especially when it comes to the black community. And I'm not into the identity politics, but we have to recognize when it comes to the black community, they do promote this idea of blackness, and they'll support that. But stood as an Asian, and then she stood as a black person, and then her being a woman, they tried to get out there and try to push this narrative that we need a strong woman leadership. Look, we just need strong leadership. It has nothing to do with her being a woman. It has nothing to do with sexism and all these other type of isms that they always try to promote to make themselves feel better when they lose. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with qualification.
Correct.
And quite simply, she never had it and she doesn't have it now.
Correct. And you can simply look at one stat. I tell people who are saying, oh, it's because the country is sexist. When you look at 2016 and you look at the votes that Hillary Clinton received, she received a larger portion of the male vote than Kamala did. And then last time I checked, she was also a woman. But again, with the Democrats, you don't know these days. But as long as last I checked, she identifies as a woman still. And she largely kept together her coalition. And a lot of people
Mm,
don't want to talk about that because it defeats their talking points. So they don't want to speak about Hillary Clinton's
yep,
coalition, the fact that she
yep.
did get a lot of men to vote for her. So this had nothing to do with Kamala being a woman. And then when you really dig into that, and you look at the fact that black men didn't vote for her at the same rate. Why did
Mm.
they vote for Hillary Clinton, who is a white woman, at a higher rate than they voted for Kamala? Right? It doesn't make sense for their talking points. But let's dig into that a little bit more because I'm proud of this.
Mm,
I'm
Come
proud of
on.
this right now, right? And there's a lot. Listen, I am going to be the first one to tell you there is still a lot of work to be done. I saw the
Sure.
numbers for black
Yep.
women in particular. Very disappointing to see some of those
Very much
numbers.
so.
But what I saw from black men, and not just even in the votes, I mean, you look at some of the states, and I think it was like a 25%, I think, in Georgia. And some of these swing states, it was
Mm,
even higher. I think nationally, it's like sitting at 20% or higher from black
mm.
men, which is incredible. Incredible. For
Yeah.
those who, I talked about this last week, for those who do not understand, that is earth shattering for the left.
Unheard
20%
of. Hmm.
is, I mean, if they start holding that consistently, that is enough for the left to start losing elections. Okay, all across the country, all across the
Yes.
country. So for those who don't understand how big those numbers are, trust me, they are huge for those who us who started study this all the time. But I was digging into those numbers even more, and I'm proud of them. But what I'm most proud of is the fact that I'm seeing more people online speak up. I've seen so many people, so many black guys who identify with the left, and they're saying deuces to the Democrat Party, and they're posting their videos about how they voted for Trump, even though they told their family at one point they were going to vote for Kamala. They were doing whatever it took to get in that voting booth and vote for the thing for the person who they felt was going to help them and their family. How proud did that make you? Because again, I know we don't play the identity politics a lot, but we are both aware of what's going on in Black America and how that has been the left's most loyal base for a long time. And you and I talk a lot about the importance and the significance of a man stepping up, right? So to see men step up in this election in the way that they did, particularly Black men and Hispanic men, right? How did that make you feel as a fellow man, Stephen? How did that make you feel?
Oh man, I can beat my chest right now, man. I feel like King Kong right now. This is a beautiful thing to witness when it comes to us on the right, to see people wake up and jump off this Democrat plantation and get rid of this Stockholm syndrome that they've had for so long, right? Because a lot of the times they just stay on this Democrat plantation and then they defend the Democrat plantation without any coherent answers, of course. They would just say, well, my mother's been Democrat, black equals Democrat, the Republicans are racist, all these certain mantras. And they never really give any well thought out, deep answers as to why they are a Democrat or why they support the Democrat Party blindly. So, and of course, when you talk to them and we have these conversations, they'll say, oh, well, it's because, a black equals Democrat, this and that, and Republicans are racist. I'm like, well, you realize that you're standing with an anti-God agenda, right? When it comes to the Democrat Party, you're standing with a trans agenda and transing the kids agenda. You know that, right? You understand you're standing with anti-gun agendas and anti-borders and agendas and anti-baby agenda, right? Use anti-family agenda. You realize that. And I think that when it comes to the black community, especially black men, and black Hispanics, they're realizing, especially Hispanics, when it comes to the abortion issue. A lot of Hispanics are Catholic. I'm sorry, when it comes to Catholicism and abortion, they are not synonymous whatsoever. So black men Hispanic men have been waking up, but black men have been waking up too, because you look at them and they're like, you know what? We see what's going on with the open borders, right?
Yeah.
All these resources are going to people who do not belong here, right? Who have no right to belong here, who have no right and no claim to these resources. And places like Chicago and New York and all these other different areas where black people are disproportionately affected, because that's where a lot of these illegals are stuffed, right? Black people are feeling the results of that, and they're feeling the impact of that. So when it comes to the economy, them not being able to pay for certain things, I got to either choose to put gas in my car or pay my rent or get food for my children, right? This is a problem. So black men have really stepped up and said, you know what, as the men of this household, as the patriarch, we're going to
Yeah.
stand on principle. And that's what
Yeah.
we did. And I love to see it.
I saw a tweet, and I have to admit, because the Lord already knows I laughed at it, so no hiding. But it was a black guy, and he goes, this election has taught me. He said, this election has taught me that we need strong black men to tell these strong black women to shut your A up. I almost died. I died. I almost passed out, Steven. I can't lie. I was like,
Well, he's
I
not
was, I
wrong.
was rolling. I was rolling. But obviously, maybe I would have said it differently. But I will say what he meant though was true. At the end of the day, we do need strong men to take their place and stand up.
Yes.
And it's not about disrespecting women. And in fact,
No, not at
like
all.
my wife would be the first person to tell you she don't want to leave this household. She happily understands
Mm,
that God is
mm,
first. I leave this household. And if you're in a good marriage, a good relationship, you understand the dynamic, right? It's one of
yep.
respect and mutual love. So this isn't in any way disrespect to women, but we need strong men. We can't have
Yes.
these strong women out here making the decisions, such life changing decisions, where a man should lead. And I think that's really why I'm so proud of Hispanic men, black men, and white men.
Mm,
Everybody who stepped up, all the men who stepped up. I have a
yep.
special place for those people who took who took their vote seriously. I'll say that. But
Mhm.
you mentioned the Catholic vote, abortion, some of those things, and I actually want to play a clip from you because one of the things that you talked about, I think you ex posted about this. I don't know if they're calling it ex post or tweet. I don't know. Elon Musk, what is it? Tell me what is it? I'm still calling it tweet. I don't know.
I don't know either.
We're gonna call it a tweet. We're gonna call it a tweet. But you posted about kind of calling out Kamala and what she said. Let's
Mhm.
roll that clip. Actually, let's bring it up if we have the video in the comment. Oh, we got a little buffering going on. Let's see. Let's see.
A little buffer in that action. It's
Let's see
okay.
if it
It's
wants
all
to play.
right.
May not want to play for us right now. We'll see if we can get that back up. But you kind of called out, I think, you called out Kamala a little
Hmm.
bit because she, I think this was when she was at a rally,
Hmm.
and she told that person they were at the wrong rally. And
Yep.
I'm like, when you profess their love for Jesus, or you speak out, you call out the name of Jesus Christ and whatnot, you tell them that you're at the wrong rally. That was the moment for me where every Christian, every Catholic, whatever. That's when I felt like you gotta leave. You now
Mm.
she
Mm.
is now let you know that you have no place in this party. But I'm pretty sure if this person yelled out "trans rights matters" or something like that,
Mm.
she would have cheered that person on, right? She probably would have cheered on. I think we have it. Let's see if it's playing. Maybe not gonna happen today, but what's your thought? That's all right. We roll with it, right? We roll with it.
Yeah,
We
we do.
keep it
Yeah, we
moving.
do.
We keep
Yeah,
it
we do.
moving. We keep it moving. But what were your thoughts on it? Because I know you shared a tweet. Can you tell the
Mm.
audience a little bit of what you said about that?
Yeah, it's really simple when it comes to a situation like this where you have people saying Jesus is Christ is King, Jesus is Lord, and she says, "Oh, you're at the wrong rally," right? And then she follows that up with, "You might want to go to you might want to go to the little one down the street." Hmm? So she's saying a couple things here, but the most interesting thing that she's really saying is, first of all, when it comes to all this Christianity stuff, when it comes to all this Christ is King, Jesus is Lord type of stuff, when it comes to most of this country, right, what they identify with, you're trying to say that you're at the wrong rally when it comes to that type of ideology. As Kamala Harris, I don't subscribe to such notions. Not only do I not subscribe to such notions, you don't belong in this place if you subscribe to such notions. And if you do want to subscribe to such notions, there's the other guy, aka Trump, who would be happy to accept you. And I'm just like, well, daggone, way to throw away a large swath of the vote.
Yeah,
And then, of course, after that, she tried to go to a church and speak there and tried to
of
show
course.
face. And you see what I'm saying? And so it's all this is theatrics. It's all theatrics when it comes to Kamala. There's nothing genuine about her. And I think the American people saw that when she spoke about you're at the wrong rally. That was real Kamala. And then when
Mhm.
she showed up at church the next day, that's once again, manufactured, not genuine, fake Kamala, this faux Kamala that comes out there and tries to show that she's part of the people. She's one of us. And real quick, I just want to say that this just goes to show because you've seen that one video where she's acting like she's on the phone, right? And then she shows the phone
She
and
turned
it's
it.
it's on camera mode.
Hmm.
This is what we're up against when it comes to people like her. She is all fake, all manufactured, nothing real about her.
And people are rejecting that. I think that's another thing that I'm proud of so much when it comes to this election. But another thing I'm proud of is the fact that I think people are seeing through the fakeness.
Mm,
They're seeing
mm,
through it now. Before they weren't. And again, we've had so many conversations about so many things off camera. But that was another thing you and I talked about. We would just shake our heads and
mm.
like, why can't people see the truth, right? And I think this election showed that a lot of people are starting to see some of these politicians for what they are. Now,
Yeah.
that said, I think that we cannot take our foot off the gas because
Mm,
when I got involved in this movement, years ago, one of the things that I realized that's a little different now than what it was before was that there wasn't enough people out there reaching out to people like myself.
mm,
Right.
mm,
And I know everything happens in God's timing, but I can't imagine if people had taken the time to, actually go into some of these communities and share these
yes.
perspectives and have these conversations. I probably would have had my red pill moment years earlier.
Mm, mm,
But it took a video and some other things of my own, doing my own research to kind of red pill myself. But
Yeah.
I think about that all the time because I think the conservatives really messed up in the beginning for a long time, and we handed over the education system, the entertainment industry. I mean, we handed over so much without a fight. And
Yeah.
now I kind of equate it to us being in a football game and we're down. We were down 3 touchdowns, right? So this go
Mm,
this in the fourth quarter.
true.
So we're fighting back, right? We got a lot of will. We got some star players on our team, right? We're putting up we got some good
Mm,
plays in the playbook. We're doing our thing, as you can see by this election. But we can't get into a situation again where we fall behind. And I think that is my message to a lot of conservatives too, is that celebrate the victory, but let's get back to work because we're not
mm,
done. What are your thoughts on
yeah.
that?
No, I'm right there with you. Right. It's okay. We won the Super Bowl. All right. Next week, right, or tomorrow, we're back in it's training camp again, right? We're back in it. It's time to go back hard. At the end of the day, this is what we have to do. For the first time in a long time, the right side of history played offense, right? For once, finally, we always play defense. We're always playing defensively, but finally we played offense, and now we have seen the fruits of our labor when we actually go out there and are proactive. Because you are correct. You are
Mhm.
correct when it comes to the right, when it comes to the Republican Party. We have done so poorly when it comes to messaging and when it comes to reaching out. And this is something I've always give credence to when it comes to the left. The left is really good at messaging. They're really good at narrative weaving. They're really good at putting their best foot forward for the sake of their movement. They're really good at coalescing as a group of people for a common goal and a common cause. Even though the common goal and the common cause is evil, but
Mhm.
they know how to coalesce as a group. We have lacked that for so long. There are certain groups of people, certain demographics of people that we have failed to reach out to, aka the Black community, and for a long time the Hispanic community as well. We have done that to our own detriment. We have been shooting ourselves in the foot. And I feel like it's a Deadpool situation. We shoot ourselves in the foot, shoot our foot off, it grows back, then we shoot it off again. You know what I'm saying? It's like this is the type of mentality we have had when it comes to the Republican Party. Finally, we have
Yeah.
got it together and we said, you know what, we have done well. We're going to go out there, we're going to play offense, we're going to win. And then after we win, we're going to keep moving forward because at the end of the day, the American people are worth it. We need to
Yeah.
get back to common sense. We need to get back to critical thinking, and that's what we're going to push forth in our agenda. And I think that needs to be our message to the rest of the country. We are
Yeah.
the party of common sense, and if you want to be a part of that, jump on aboard. Let's
Yeah.
go.
And listen, I'm gonna say something to get deep here for a second. Can I get
Ooh,
deep
oh,
real quick? Can I get deep real quick?
get deep on them, man. Come on.
you know, because you're hitting on something that I think is extremely important, and I want to stress this, because obviously the Black community, Hispanic community, minority America in general, this is I'm glad people are seeing that this can be a huge part of our base going
Mm,
forward. I think
mm,
for years and years and years, the right gave up on it so quickly. You would see these like minority efforts pop up and then they would just disappear, right? Or
yep,
they would
yep,
really invest in it or be the first thing that they cut. And
yep.
and I've never really spoken about this, publicly so much, but
Mhm.
I think that's why I take Brexit so seriously in many ways, and why I
Sure.
fight so hard for it, because I believe in what we're doing. I know the impact of what we're doing, and we don't even have to go out and tell them, "Hey, vote for Trump." In fact, we're not telling people to go vote for Trump, right? 501c3 and all of that, but
Yep,
well,
yep.
we just realized that having the conversation matters. Having the conversation.
Mm,
This was the first election cycle, the first real election cycle where Brexit had a full election cycle. And obviously, we're not
mm,
an election organization or group, right? We're part of Turning Point. We're not an election group. We do work every year, but this was the first time where we had a full cycle because the people, for those who don't know, Brexit was founded 2018. Our first chapter really didn't kick off until maybe end of 2019. We didn't have more than 10 chapters until well into 2020, right? By that time, the
right,
election was here. So
right.
this is our first real cycle, and maybe I'm being bullish, but I'm going to be bullish. I think that we had a lot to do with a lot of minds changing, at the very least, people
Yes,
accepting the fact
yes.
that it's okay to say that they're conservative and be Black or be Hispanic. They're
Mm,
seeing more people, more voices that look like them, right? And it's helping them speak out, because the reality is a lot of people don't want to say anything if they feel like they're alone. I wish it
Yeah.
wasn't like that, but unfortunately, it is like that for a lot of people. And now they're seeing people like yourself, Stephen, you've made so much content, you've gone viral so many times, you're so big on the platform where you're big, you're MAGA Hulk still somewhere in there, you big MAGA Hulk in person too, but no, you've gone viral so much. You're one of the biggest names in the conservative movement, and they see you, right? And that matters. That matters. And I know we're like, oh, representation. But again, you have to understand what these people are. When we first
Yes.
meet them, they are thinking black this, black that. That is how
Yes.
they think. I wish I could tell you it
Yes.
wasn't, but it is how they think. What happens is they get with us, like I said earlier, and then we help them work through that. So that's not how they're identifying themselves 6 months from now. But
Yeah.
that is what they look at, and it does help them speak up and say, you know what, there's a lot of people like Steven and others who are speaking up, and they're unafraid and unapologetic. So maybe I'll go ahead and make that video too. Or maybe I'll
Mm.
go ahead and share that tweet or make that post. And I was telling my wife, there was a point I used to, the shade room, man, the shade room. Oh, the
Oh
wonderful shade
goodness
room. There was a
gracious.
point where I used to go onto the shade room and I felt alone when I would see
Mm.
them attack conservatives, and I would feel
Boy.
obligated to have to speak up and say all these things. Now I'll go on there, and when I'm ready to comment back to something stupid that they posted, I see a bunch of other people. There's still like more lefties in there, but I see a lot of other people now speaking up about conservative values, and that was not something I saw back in the day. So I sometimes like, oh, I don't even say anything now. I'm not to say anything. They're already taking care of it. The fact that we're seeing this proves that the investment into groups like Brexit, right, is so
Yes.
important, and that it can make such a huge change. But I want to transition subjects a little bit too, and just kind of see what's the future for you a little bit, Stephen. I mean, hey,
Mm.
what's your plans? I know you're a Turning Point USA contributor. You've obviously
Yeah.
blown up through the years. What's in the future for Stephen Davis? Are we looking at Congressman or
Oh.
Senator Stephen Davis one day?
Oh, wait a
What are we looking
minute.
at? What are we looking at? What's in the plans for you? What do you think is going to happen with your career? Where's God taking you?
Ah, you know what? I would love to say that I want to jump in the realm of politics. But my problem is that I'm a little too raw. You know what I'm saying? I am the President Trump type. I don't know how to filter myself. I don't know how to be politician-y, and say the quote unquote right things. My thing is saying the truthful things. I can't always formulate my mind to say the right things. So I don't know if I'll be able to be a good mouthpiece when it comes to politics. I'm a little too raw. I'm a little too bullish. I'm a little too, run straight into the fray with exactly what it is. I don't know how to use a politician lingo, that sort of thing. So I'll leave politics alone for now. But for now, I want to focus more on documentaries, short films. I want to focus on going into the Black community, helping them understand and helping them wake up, having the conversation, having the deep conversations, because you are correct. When it comes to Brexit, Brexit has been on the front lines of this thing, especially when it comes to the mantra, educate to liberate. And I think that is absolutely phenomenal of Brexit to go ahead and put forth to the American people, especially to the Black community, and help them understand that Black does not equal Democrat, right? You can think for yourself, and I think that's a big message for me is that you can think for yourself, just like I had to think for myself at one point in time when I was fully engaged in the leftist narrative and that sort of thing, fully engaged in the racist narrative, that sort of thing. And it took me thinking for myself and jumping out of that box, and it took the courage of other people to realize that I can exhibit that same thing as well. And that's the thing that when you're talking about the courage, you jumping into these posts and you see other people fighting the good fight when it was first just you. Now you're jumping in and you see other people. It's because courage is contagious. Just like
Yeah.
fear is contagious. And a lot of times within the Black community, you see a lot of fear. This is why a lot of Black conservatives take a step back when it comes to the fight. But courage is also contagious as well. So when it comes to people like you and me standing up on the front lines of this thing and saying, hey, you can think for yourself and you can take the slings and arrows that come at you and you can still stand your ground and push forward to the daggone future for the sake of not only the Black community, but for the American people at large. People take solace in that and they resonate with that and they join on with you. So
Yeah.
when it comes to me, that's my mission is to continue to put forth a narrative of truth, a narrative of courage and believing in oneself and believing in God. Ultimately, you can believe in yourself all you want, but if you don't have God on your
Yeah.
side, you're not going to make any type of progress. So, yeah, that's what it is for me. And hopefully, maybe one day, if I can figure out how to use this mouth in a way that's not going to offend others, I'll maybe jump into politics.
I feel like I'm all here for political raw Steven. I feel like I'm all in. Hey, Trump just won the presidency that way. I feel like I'm all in for full blown raw Steven. I want to ask you too, because you in the middle of what you were saying too. I think it was very motivational for people who are listening, who are in that space right now where they're like, man, I hear you, Steven. I hear you, and I kind of want to speak up, but my mom or my dad might not invite me to Thanksgiving.
Mm.
I mean, that's happening right now. There's a thing going on X where people are talking
Yep.
about them being uninvited from Thanksgiving because they voted
Yep.
for Trump and whatnot. And what do you say to people like that who are right there on the line, but they know that they may lose friends, family? Because I'm sure you've lost people in your life too.
Oh,
What do you
goodness.
say to those people who are on the line?
At the end of the day, what do you stand for? Do you stand for truth or do you don't? Everyone talks about real talk until real talk is necessary and needed for the current situation. And this current situation is right now, right? So you got to understand you're going to take the slings and arrows. People are going to beat you up. They're going to browbeat you. They're going to call you all the words. I've been called them all: coon, Uncle Tom, white man slave, white man's dog, race traitor, self hater, Sambo, Oreo, you name it. I've been called it. Okay, I've been called it all. But at the end of the day, you grow thick skin and it readies you for the fight ahead. And you're going to lose people. You might lose some family members. And it's sad to see, but at the end of the day, they're going to watch your witness.
Mm,
Okay. They're going to watch your witness. They're going to hate on you. They're going to say all the terrible, terrible, terrible things about you. But then they're going to sit back and watch, and they're going to watch your example. They're going to watch to see if you stay the course. They're going to watch and see if you're that courageous person that you always espouse yourself to be. They're going to see if you're the actual person that's about that life and that's not going to fall off like everybody else. They're going to see what it is. And then they're going to say, well, you know what? There might be something to this
mm,
individual. I've known this person all my life. They're a family member. I've known this individual. I know what they're all about. Right. So I know that they're not some evil individual. I just have to see their character, and it's all about your character and what your character produces, right? What kind of fruit your character produces. So you have to stay the course, and you cannot fall off, you cannot falter, you cannot waver, because as soon as you do, they're gonna say, "Aha! I knew
hmm
you weren't real. I knew you
Yep.
weren't about that life. I knew what you were saying is a lie." So you have to stay the course, and you just got to take it. Just be strong, be tough, baby. Come on now, we
Be
men
bold,
and
be
women.
strong.
Let's go.
Stand up, stand up for what you believe in. Stand up for what you believe in. Steven, it has been a pleasure having you on. You got to come back, man.
I'm with it. Come on now, we family. Come on, let's do it.
I gotta have you back. Yeah, and we have so much more. I know we are going to be probably talking about so much through Trump's presidency. I'm pretty sure the
Mm.
Democrats are going to be putting up all sorts of resistance. They've already been talking about Trump proofing their states and all sorts of silly things right now. So I know we're going to have a lot to talk about. But in this moment in time, Stephen, let's celebrate, brother, because this was hard, hard earned. Thank you for being on.
Oh, it's my pleasure, man. Thank you so much for what you do and keep fighting the good fight. I don't even have to tell you because you're already doing it. So let's go.
Just give me 2 months. I'm going to look like you. Don't worry. I'm keep fighting this fight. Give me 2 months. 2 months. All right, Stephen. Well, I'll say this because he mentioned a lot of great things. It's always a great time talking with him because he and I just have a natural friendship and we can talk about so much. I wasn't kidding when I say he and I talk so much off camera. We get into some really deep conversations, and I think we both understand what it's like to be manipulated by the left and break those chains, if you will. And I want to kind of touch on even further, really quick, as we wrap up a little bit more of what he said towards the end. If you're someone that's on the fence, he spoke about the importance of staying firm, standing your ground. Do not waver. If you truly believe, don't bow to the peer pressure. I was that person. I think I've shared this with you guys before, but I was that person. I lost a lot. And when it came to family and friends, I mean, I felt isolated at one point. I had people calling me an embarrassment to the family, people saying that I was disregarding my roots and that I wasn't thinking about slavery, like all sorts of different things they were throwing at me. to try to convince me, even though the Republicans were the ones who freed the slaves, right, who fought for the freedom of slaves. But anyway, I had so many things thrown at me to make me feel guilty and make me feel like the choice that I made was wrong. But the thing is, it wasn't really a choice. It was me embracing who I always had been, which was a conservative. And that's what a lot of people I speak to, particularly in minority America, don't realize. They are actually conservative. If you remove party labels and candidates and all these things, and you just sit down and you talk about values, the things that matter to them, a lot of their beliefs and their stances are conservative, but they have been manipulated emotionally to vote for the left. So we have to understand that it is anything that's worth it is not going to be easy. You have to know that. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. So if you're on the fence, I'm not going to sit here and tell you if you do speak up, everything's going to be rainbows and sunshine. It's not. You're going to have people who call you names, like Steven said, people who disown you, people who don't want anything to do with you, even though they know your character, they still may switch up on you. But also, like Steven said, if you stand firm in what you believe in, you'll be surprised of how many of those people come back around. I've had so many people who refused to talk to me when I first came out about my conservative values, who now are asking me questions, and some who have voted for Trump this election. So these are people who didn't want anything to do with me when I first spoke up. So again, anything that's worth it will be hard, but you have to be willing to break those chains in order to help other people break theirs. Until next time, God bless you guys.